Hello, this is Jack Knight Winters, and this is Jack Frost University, and I'm out in nature right now. I'm not sure if you can hear the birds. There's birds tweeting, crickets chirping. There's a lot of animals out here in the woods. You see the woods behind me. I'm visiting my father. I'm in the Sierra Nevada mountains. The energy out here is fantastic. It's amazing. It feels so good. I feel so peaceful right now. This is where witches belong, by the way. They belong in the mountains. I think people have forgotten that. This generation hasn't seen many real witches. We have a lot of people posing as witches. We have a lot of Wiccans. Just because you're a Wiccan doesn't mean you're a witch, okay? Just because you're a Christian, just because you go to church doesn't mean you're a Christian. Just because you go into cheeseburger, or just because you go into McDonald's doesn't make you a cheeseburger. This generation is kind of a weak and watered down generation. We've forgotten our roots, our pagan roots. The woods, that's our inheritance. That's where witches belong. There may be some witches out there who are not in the woods. Maybe they're on assignment. Maybe they're discovering something, researching or investigating something, but witches, real wizards, real magi belong in the woods with the animals and the trees. I don't have my selfie stick. So, today I wanted to talk about the three different dimensions that we live in, the three different perceived realities that we live in as humans, 3D, 4D, and 5D. I don't know any other D beyond that, but there probably are quite a few. I don't think those are the only three, but those are the three major ones that most people seem to be living on. So, let's talk about that. If I can get this camera set up the right way. And I also wanted to talk about the movie Constantine. Let's talk about the movie Constantine and whether that is realistic or not. Is that science fiction? Or is it real? Can that kind of crazy stuff happen? I hope you can hear these animals and these birds chirping. This is amazing. So, I gotta look at the lens. I have a hard time looking at the lens. I always want to look at the frame. So, we're going to talk about the third, fourth, and fifth dimension real briefly, and then I want to talk about the movie Constantine. 3D living, three-dimensional, if you're in a 3D state, in a third dimension lifestyle, which is where most people are at, then you are concerned with what I call eat, shit, fucking sleep. Okay, that's what 3D is about. Eat, shit, fucking sleep. You're very carnal. You're very attached to the world and people on a physical level, people. You're concerned with social status. You're jockeying for first position. You stand in lines a lot. There's a scarcity to your life. Okay, you live your life according to scarcity. There's never enough. You have to stand in long lines to get access to resources. You have to jockey for first prize. You have to climb the corporate ladder. You're always comparing yourself to the Joneses next door. Your neighbor gets a new car. You got to go out and buy a new car. Your neighbor gets a new car. You got to have something nicer. What I found, people that live on 3D, in a 3D state of perception, 3D reality, they do a lot of working. There's a lot of work involved because you're always competing with the Joneses. They get something nice. They got a nicer house. You gotta get a nicer house. You ask them how they did it. They say, well, they work an extra 20 hours a week. And so you start working an extra 20 hours a week. And then what happens is everyone else starts working 20 hours a week. And then you're working 60 hours a week. It never ends. And it's a very oppressive state. 3D sucks. 3D really fucking blows. 3D fucking blows, okay? Very carnal-minded people. Very, That's it. I mean, it just sucks. Okay, 4D. 4D, you're going to church. You're going to church. You're going to a temple. You're going to a residence. You're going to a location to find God or to find spirituality. You're going to a place, but you're starting to awaken to the fact that there is a kingdom within you. You're starting to focus more on your heart. They say the kingdom of God is within you. I don't know what kingdom. I don't use the term God anymore. It's not really a name. That's just a title. It doesn't really mean anything. But you're starting to understand that there is a kingdom within your heart, and you're starting to look into it a little bit more. But you're still going to church. You're still going to some kind of temple. You're still seeking other men and women for understanding and insight. But you're more conscious and aware of your heart. 4D people are realizing that we're all connected. We're all connected in a way through our hearts. Your perception, your reality is changing. You're kind of putting aside the carnal things and focusing more on the spiritual things. 4D, what else goes on in 4D? You're coming out of that scarcity and you're kind of learning how to be proactive in life. Instead of being a reactive person, like events happen, like a terrorist event happens. In 3D, people respond to that terrorist event. In 4D, you're disconnected. You're like, no, this is not right. This is kind of ridiculous. This is trickery, mind control, stuff like that. People in 4D, you're coming out of that. You're putting that beside you. You're putting it behind you. Oh, by the way, another thing about 3D, and even 4D, actually even a little bit 4D, is the duality issue of good and bad. Even in 4D, you're kind of living that way too. In 4D and 3D, there's a duality to life. Black and white. Things are black and white. Political issues are black and white. Religious issues are black and white. Your religion is good, theirs is bad. There's a devil on your shoulder over here, and there's an angel on your shoulder over here. You have good luck or you have bad luck. That's what they do in China. There's a lot of gamblers in the Seattle area. It's always funny. Have good luck or bad luck. Good luck, bad luck. Good angel, bad angel. Black and white, duality. That's what you get with 3D and 4D. Okay, it's still kind of an ignorant. It's better than 3D, but it's still kind of an ignorant way of living. I don't know what else to say about 4D. I spent most of my time in 4D. 4D. But it's a gateway. You're getting up there. Okay, now let's talk about 5D because this is where it starts getting fun. And then we're going to talk about Constantine and the crazy things that happen in life. 5D, that's where things start getting really exciting. You're entering a whole new state. A whole new perceived reality. You're definitely understanding that we are all connected. And you're heavily focused on consciousness and intention. You're starting to realize that there's a whole world out there. A whole new world, a whole new universe, it seems like. With 5D, even though all humans are all occupying the same time and space. We're all occupying time and space together, but our realities are so much different. 5D, you're no longer going to church. You're no longer going to a temple. The temple's within your heart. Right here. Boop. Look at my Disney shirt. I love Disney. I love sorcery. I love sorcery and I love Disney. And I love magic. Magic, sorcery, divination, Disney, Hollywood. That's all that. Witchcraft. Disney. Walt Disney was a pirate, dude. He was such a deviant guy, but I love it. So, 5D, you're about consciousness affects reality. What you think becomes. All things in the universe, all material things started off as a thought. Okay? With 5D, there's no scarcity of resources on planet Earth. Okay, with 5D, you're not standing in lines because you've become proactive in life. You're proactive. You put things together over a series of years to ensure that you don't have to stand in a line, a food line of any kind. You're not jockeying for first place as a corporation, allowing them to form you and mold you into the model citizen. 5D, there's no scarcity issues. 5D, you're big on consciousness, awareness. You're understanding that you're around a bunch of children. That's what 5D is really about. You're around a bunch of kids. 3D and 4D kids, right? That's what 5D is about. You are around a bunch of spiritual children, and you're looking at them like, damn, you guys are a bunch of kids, dude, grow up. And they're frustrating, because sometimes kids are frustrating. They're quarrels. They're quarrelsome. They're immature. They're childish. You kind of love them, but they just drive you nuts sometimes. 5D, you're starting to awaken to the fact that there are extraterrestrials occupying space and time with you. There's cattle mutilations going on. There's other creatures out there. Okay? You're starting to realize that. There's other living creatures out there. 5D, you're more connected to the galaxy. 5D, you're connected to the planet. The planetary energies. You're starting to see things from a galactic level. 5D, you're starting to realize that there are beings in here that are on a galactic level. Galactic law enforcement. There's galactic law enforcement. You're understanding that there's reptilians out there. Emerald Tablets of Thoth talk about, hey, these beings from the deep come out where the blood is offered. What's in the blood? Plasma. They don't care about the blood. They want the plasma that's in the blood. You're starting to realize that there's aliens out there to eat humans. You're starting to realize that there's a lot of people being kidnapped and missing all of a sudden. You are mature enough and awake enough to come to certain conclusions about life, that it's more a bit of state of survival, but you're not losing your peace over it. There's other creatures out there, right? There's aliens, there's ETs, out in space, inside of the Earth, on top of the surface of the Earth, and we're occupying space and time with them. So 5D, you're starting to recognize that and realize that. You may even start to communicate with them. 5D, you might be communicating with spirits, of disincarnate spirits. You might be getting bored of eat, shit, fuck, sleep. I mean, well, you never get you don't really get tired of that, but those are fun things to do. But but you're starting to want more than that. You're starting to want more. My selfie stick is missing. I have to hold this thing up. That's horrible. So, yeah, 5D. There's ETs out there. Your consciousness affects your reality in a very heavy way. You're very selective in who you hang out with. You can't really hang out with 3D people, dude. It doesn't work. You can try. It doesn't work. Not for long periods of time. Speak a word of enlightenment to them and kind of moving on, like, you know what I mean? You can hang out with some 4D people, but 3D people are difficult to be around. This is my dad's motorhome. That's awesome. That's all I want to do is hang out in nature. It just feels so good. There's logs everywhere. Birds chirping, crickets chirping. Life. We're going camping in a little bit, me and my dad, father and I. So now let me talk about Constantine, this movie. This is one of those movies that's been on my list of things, of movies to watch for a long time, probably like 10 years. It came out in 2005. I've seen it. I was always holding it. I do that with books sometimes. I did that with the Zecharia Sitchin books, the Anunnaki texts. Someone told me to read it, and I was like, yeah, I need to read that. And I kind of held it. I didn't do it, though, for another 10 years, but I held it in me. The desire was held in me. And it's just one of those things that I wanted to read, and finally got around to it 6 years ago. But this movie, Constantine, when it came out, I was like, yeah, I gotta see that. That looks pretty tight. But I didn't for a long time. Well, I just watched it a couple months ago. And I wanted to talk about the movie Constantine. So it's Keanu Reeves and Rachel Weisz. You know, I like those actors. They're really great. They're always in some kind of movie regarding enlightenment. They're always doing some kind of 5D movies. And in the movie, he's accessing some, Keanu Reeves and Rachel Weisz. And I love her for the Mummy Returns series too. She's in all these Egyptian movies. I just love ancient Egypt. In this movie, they're accessing some crazy dimensions of reality. They're talking to blood-drinking vampires, straight up demons from hell. They're dealing with exorcisms. They're dealing with the portals of hell. 5D, man. There's like, what? There's a whole world out there. So some of you were like, is that stuff real? Is that science fiction? Or is it real? And I just wanted to tell you something. It's real. It takes a while to get there. You may not want to go there because there's some scary shit sometimes. Okay? But it's real, and I'm going to give you an example. So in the movie, Keanu Reeves wants to go to hell. He wants to visit Hades. Okay? He sits down in a chair. He puts a cat on his lap, and he puts his feet inside this tub of water. And then he focuses his consciousness, right? And then he goes to hell. And for those of you who are like, I don't believe that stuff happens, man, whatever, I'm going to explain something to you. You might change your mind. Okay? So I used to be a computer technician. I should probably get back into it, but I used to be a computer technician, and I had what we call a tech lead over in Oakland, California. He was a really smart guy. His father was so smart they wouldn't even let him on Jeopardy. That's what he told me. You gotta be smart to be on Jeopardy. But apparently his dad was too smart. Because they're like, dude, you'll answer every question right. There's not gonna be any competition. So they didn't even let him on the show. That's crazy. That's crazy smart. It showed in his experience with IT. He was a great tech lead. He knew things. And I was so glad to train under him and learn the ropes. That was my first IT job. Now let me ask you a question. If you dropped your laptop and it no longer worked, and when you pushed the power button on, it gave you an error, and you didn't know what that error was, let's say you take your laptop to me, and I look at it for 15 minutes, I troubleshoot it for 10 minutes right in front of you, and I tell you something, I say, yeah, I can't fix this permanently, you need a new hard drive, but I can back up your data. I can turn your computer on for about half an hour at a time, which is long enough to back up all your data and put that into another system. If I told you that I could fix it, but I would have to take your hard drive out and put it in the freezer for half an hour to 45 minutes, what would you say? What would you say to that? If I told you I can fix it temporarily, long enough to get your data backed up, but I'd have to put your laptop or your hard drive in the freezer for half an hour. What would you think about me if I told you that? I asked my friend that. No, think about it for a second. What would you think? Real situation. Yeah, I just need to put your hard drive in the freezer for 45 minutes. I asked Silas Cabal, my good friend, sleight of hand magician, that same question, and he said, I think you're crazy. He said, I think you're crazy. I said, would you question my sanity? Would you question my sanity? He said, yes. I said, good. So now, let me explain. I've taken apart hard drives before, and I can tell you what's in there. Okay? In your hard drive, when you unscrew it, you look around, because I've done this, I'm an IT, I'm interested in technical things. I unscrewed the laptop hard drive, or even a desktop hard drive, and I've looked inside, and there's these platters. There are these, like, 4, I don't know how many there are, I think there's multiple, anywhere from 4 to 6, maybe more, platters, okay? They're metal platters. Metal platters, I can't remember if they were copper, gold, or silver. I want to say they were gold. If they weren't gold, I think they were copper. Gold would make a better conductor, I think. But anyway, what happens is you have these read-write heads. Let's see if I can do this. My selfie stick doesn't allow me to see. You have these read-write heads that go like this across this copper platter. Okay, it spins rapidly. It just does this across the surface of the disk, and that's how information is read and written. That's how you read and write data to the hard drive through these copper plates. They're very, very thin. They're about this size. Well, for a laptop hard drive, they're a little bit smaller. And you read write data electromagnetically. You charge them with a 0 or a 1. Okay, you charge them with a 0 and 1. That's how information is put on there. And there's such a small amount of tolerance between that read-write head and that platter. If I can even display it, it's so small because the read-write head is not actually touching the platter. It's not touching it. It's just electromagnetically charging it with a 0 or a 1, right? Charge or no charge. So what happens is when you drop your hard drive, that read-write head, it bends and it makes contact with the copper disk, that copper platter. That contact is not allowed. That contact with the platter will stop the read-write head from moving. It's bent like this. It goes, it bends, and now it won't go like this. It will not read or write. Okay, it's stuck because you dropped it when the laptop was powered on. But if you put it in the freezer, you probably know that metal contracts. When it's frozen, it gets smaller. It shrinks, okay? Metal shrinks when it's cold. Metal shrinks when it's frozen. When you freeze the metal, there allows more tolerance in between that read-write head and that platter again. So it allows it to start reading and writing. You see? But it only works for half an hour to 45 minutes before it starts getting heated up. The heat starts getting to it again, and it makes contact with that platter again, and it stops. So you got, like I said, 30 minutes to back up all your information. Okay? So now that I've explained it to you, you can see I'm not insane. You don't have to question my sanity. I'm not crazy. I'm just really heavily technically inclined, and I understand things that even most technicians don't know about computers. So, I am a sorcerer. I am a wizard. I practice ceremonial magic. And the same way that I'm a IT technician who knows, or I used to know, I'm not really caught up these days. I stopped being a technician that way. The same ways, I had more experience than most technicians. Most technicians would not know that little trick about putting the hard drive in the freezer to fix it. Most technicians do not know that. But I had a good tech lead. I had a good teacher, okay? Well, I'm also a wizard. I'm a sorcerer. I'm a ceremonial magician. So I know things that other magicians don't know. I know things that other sorcerers and wizards don't know because I had a good teacher. And I can tell you that those parts of that movie, Constantine, can really happen. That's real stuff. Okay, and it's kind of exciting, but it's also kind of scary. So, you're entering, if you're in 5D now, that you got to be aware of this stuff, that we live in a universe where your consciousness affects reality. So focusing in on something when you're in a hypnotic state, you can manifest things. And that's what he was doing. You're invited to other realms, like Hades. You're invited to other planets by your consciousness. You're not traveling physically to these places, but your consciousness can be invited to these places. You can gain access through there are portals. And you can't really understand that until you're living on that 5D. So that's really all I wanted to talk about. It's a great movie. It was entertaining. And That stuff is real. It can happen. Happens mostly in ceremonial magician type scenarios because you need to be in like a habit. You have to gain that momentum. The cat, you know, this is a scientific universe, and it's about, this is a universe of mathematics. Mathematics is the language of the universe. It doesn't matter what reality you're in. 1 + 1 is 2, okay? 2 parts hydrogen plus 1 part oxygen equals water no matter what. H2O, right? 2 parts hydrogen, 1 part oxygen. That's law. It's scientific law, chemical law, alchemy. And there's a different kind of alchemy in the universe, which gives you insight and access to different realms through different portals. There's different windows. Okay, and that's what ceremonial magic is about. So, you know, things aren't, it's not black and white anymore. It's not good or evil. It's not this is God or this is the devil. It's like, hey, do you want to travel? Do you want to travel? Like, you know, what did Art Bell used to say in his broadcast? Want to take a ride? So, you know, a lot of people look at sorcery, and, you know, my parents included, my parents and old friends, family members, and it's difficult to separate yourself from them, but sometimes you have to. You just have to grow up and be mature. But magic is not bad. Sorcery is not evil. You know, like I said, this planet has been kept, witches haven't been able to come out for a long time on planet Earth. We haven't been. There's been a war taking place, and the Emerald Tablets of Thoth talk about a war, that eternal struggle between good and light. There's been a battle going on for a long time, and it's always going to be there, to be honest with you. I know people don't want to hear that, but man, this war, it's just an ongoing war, and, you know, pick your side. It's like, sometimes it is a little bit black and white. There is a battle of good and light. I'll define light in my own way, right? Witches have not been, real magicians, real wizards, real sorcerers, real witches haven't been able to come out. They've been burned. We've been burned alive. Real witches have been burned alive at the stake for quite some time. Okay? Galileo was under house arrest. Copernicus was burnt. People who study science, man, have been killed, murdered. Some dark magic has been used on them. Spells to keep people down. These last, I don't know how many thousands of years, but it has not been pretty. There's been some nasty stuff going on, but this, I don't know what it is, but this generation, we're at the end of some kind of cycle. I feel like I can breathe more. I feel like you can talk. Witches can come out. We can start talking. We can talk about science. We can talk about magic. We don't have to worry about getting killed. We still got to be careful, as always, but, yeah, there it is. I don't know what else to tell you. I just wanted to talk about the 3 different states that most people live on. There's probably other states of consciousness, too. This is just, you know, I'm on 5D right now. We'll see what happens. I wonder if there's a hell of a lot more. That would be crazy. You might be kind of lonely, though, in those higher states. I don't know. I'm kind of lonely at 5D. So, and Constantine, yeah, that stuff can be real. Now, I'm not saying that the sit on a chair with the cat on your lap, with water underneath your feet, like, I'm not saying that that is the actual spell that works, okay? I'm not saying that. That's not what I'm saying. If you do that, you're crazy. Okay, you can try it. I don't know. It might work. I'm just saying that things similar to that could be true. Okay? We live in it's a scientific universe. It's a mathematical universe. Mathematics is the language of the universe. So there's hacks. There's universal hacks. There's tricks. There's back doors you can sneak into. You can do things. You know, there's all kinds of things to do. My camera's out of space, so that's all I gotta say. It's a 20-minute video. So, I'm Jack Knight Winters. This is Jack Frost University. I hope you enjoyed.